Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Kinsey. You're here with us for our Kinsey Informational Service segment or a Kinsey Service webinar. Uh, Guys, it's the last one for this week. We've done three. Today's topic, we will be covering a Blue Vantage installation or cab kit installation. So that's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for us this time. In fact, always want to thank Bill Erickson, our director, myself, Phil Jennings, we have Brandon Veneman, Kurt Mann, and the man behind the scenes, Zach, is actually kind of excited about this because we've got some different camera angles. We're going to be a little bit more mobile. We're going to try some new things. So bear with us, and we're going to have some fun with this one. Guys, we're using the Teams format. If you haven't been with us before and are not necessarily familiar with Teams, we do have the chat function disabled. We will be using Q&A to answer questions. So then you can send them in that way. We can read them and work with those questions while we're presenting if we can. We can also then publish those questions or respond back to them so everybody can see whatever's going to be easiest or best. And guys, always know that communication with us here at Kinsey is easy by using dealerconnect@kinsey.com. So even if something comes up after the training today, guys, or about anything else, don't hesitate to reach out to us at dealerconnect@kinsey.com. Now, the other thing about the Teams format and the Q&A function, we've had a couple of guys mention that they couldn't get to it or they couldn't find it in their options. Don't know whether it has to do with whether you're using it through a browser or an application on your phone or mobile device, but nonetheless, if for some reason you don't see that, we will be posting the attendance quiz at the end of the meeting today in both places, both the chat and the Q&A. So just to let you know that hopefully it'll be easier to find. And once again, if not, just go ahead and let us know at Dealer Connect and we can forward you a link from there. All right, why are we here? Why do we do service training? Guys, training is something that Kinsey has done for lots of years, and we believe it's an integral part of building your product knowledge and ultimately your customers' confidence in you and in the product. We're hopeful that this helps with first-time resolution when we get to the field, all of those types of things. So the format's a little bit different. We have often done, especially this time of the year, in-house training, brought you guys in. But the web-based formats or the virtual or the webinars, trainings, however you want to describe it, guys, these are also going to be recorded and kept in our Kinsey YouTube channel with some of the other Kinsey informational service segments that we've done. Therefore, you can go back and grab it at any time. And some of this information will also then be available for the customers as well. So hopefully helping them long-term is in the same token. So once again, thank you for joining. Appreciate your time this afternoon. We'll jump right into it. And like I said, today's topic is we're going to be installing a Blue Vantage Cab Kit. And why is this an important topic? Why did we choose this for a webinar today? Guys, we always go back also and look at last season. What did we have the most difficulty with? What did we register the most service case files? And it's the technology and controls, as we call it in our record keeping, our CRM. Predominantly, guys, if there's been a performance-related issue with the Blue Vantage system, we've been able to identify some gap in the installation or the GPS supplied to it. Okay. Those are the key things that have drawn our attention and have slowed planting progress down. So we wanted to spend some time on it today. IS 1021 is the instruction sheet that comes with all of the paperwork with a new planter today. If you guys don't have a copy of it, we're going to actually reference it, but we're going to go to the library. We'll show you where to find it. You're going to hear us reference IS 1021 a lot. Kurt can say that since joining the team here, that we always say just look at IS 1021. This is the primary installation guide for Blue Vantage, not only from all of the cabling from the power source all the way back to the planter, but also for the GPS connectivity and the different cables that are required there. So we are going to reference it very, very closely along the way. We've got several printed pages out that we're using for notes to make sure that we reference things accurately, but always go back and utilize IS 1021. It's a key document for us. I think maybe that's the best place to start, unless I've missed something, guys.
I don't think so.
Okay. Then what we're going to do is Brandon's going to jump on the Kinsey Business Web Portal, shares our screen. And so we're already logged in. We're going to assume that everybody's got their own login information to the library and go right up to the search text. Probably the easiest thing to do is just type in the instruction sheet by name.
And as you can see by my most recent save there, I have IS 1021 and 1021 type, so been referencing it quite a bit. But yeah, like Phil said, guys, search text, just type in IS 1021, hit search, it'll pull it up here. In order to view it or download it, you'd hit the blue triangle and select the hyperlink here. I already have it open, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull it up.
And the other thing that I would mention, guys, even if you have a copy of it, I know a lot of you may have already printed it off, but guys, download a fresh copy. We're making changes to the document all the time. There's new information on cabling and other things, so definitely make sure that you get yourself a current copy off the web portal.
So do you want to go through it here currently, Phil, or do we want to migrate over to some of our cables?
I would say scroll down,
Okay.
Brandon, and just so it starts to show you exactly what we're going to do and follow through, and that is the identification of those cables.
Yep.
The cab kit, guys, that comes in the cardboard box with a new planter, that's kind of what we're going to look at, what we've got out on the table here in front of us. But effectively, IS 1021 also does go through and identifies all of the individual items. So if you're going to start getting new machines here before too awful long, this is what you'd be going through. So yeah, I would say go ahead and identify the contents of the kit there, Brandon.
Alrighty. Stop sharing my screen. We'll jump over the table. Alrighty. So let me know when you're ready, Zach. All right. So like Phil said, guys, and as we saw in IS 1021, we do go through all the different cable identification part by part of the kit contents itself. I'm going to kind of walk through what we have laid out here on the table. This is a fresh kit, so this is the most recent version. So if you have some leftover kits and pieces of puzzle here from previous installs, there may be some cables which you haven't seen before, and we'll talk about those as we go through here. So to begin with here, guys, I'll start with our tractor power cable. It's all contained here, but I'll hit some of the main points here. First things first, we have our negative and positive terminals. One thing I will point out, some of you guys, depending on when you got your kit, the heat shrink or the crimp here may be shown in red, but with the black wire still, just wanted to make sure we're taking a second look at that to make sure we're installing this ground wire onto the negative terminal of the battery.
They are labeled as well, guys, just so you know.
Yep.
The tag by Brandon's hand right there is also going to clearly show that. But the older style crimps, from a sizing standpoint, all of the crimp protections were the same color just for the wire size. So there had been some previous confusion at times that the negative cable had a red crimp on it. So that's been rectified, as you can see, but look at and watch your older installs.
Yep. Say, good point, Phil. Along with our positive terminal here, guys, we do have a little fuse extension here. It's a 100 amp fuse. Make sure you guys are utilizing the fuse protection. We've seen different times where things will short out, things will get hot, things will start to melt. So always make sure you're using the 100 amp fuse that comes in the kit as well, just for a little extra added protection for the system. So we work our way around the cable here. We also have a relay here. It's important when you guys are mounting this, and we'll show it here in a little bit when we do our tractor walk around. This needs to be mounted in a position to where the cable or the wires are facing downward. I hope that's visible. It's important to have it mounted in this or in this orientation, guys. We have seen water get up into the relay and cause concerns. So make sure we're mounting it in a vertical position with the wires facing downward. My last two connections here, you'll notice one of them is console power. That is what we're going to plug in our console harness to. That way we can send power out to the Blue Vantage. So that way when we turn the key on, we also are then turning on the Blue Vantage at the same point in time. Last but not least is our ISO style coupler. Like I mentioned on Monday, that was a long time ago already, but like I mentioned on Monday, the aux modules on the planer, or so how we fold and unfold the machine, is all tractor power. So this connection here allows our 12-volt power to move rearward onto the machine. So we'll also look at some of those connections here in a little bit. So like I said, guys, we have the console power connection here, which then plugs into our console harness. A couple different connections here that I'll note. Connection one that I'll discuss is power relay. Pretty common sense here. Power relay is going to plug into our connection coming off of our relay on our main tractor harness. So that would then plug in together there. We have a convenience plug connection, I'll call here, for tractor power. This is also, it is labeled here, like Phil mentioned. All these connections are labeled. This is where we'll plug in for 12-volt tractor power.
And that is switched power. Correct. Too, guys. Just for definition, we know that the convenience outlet have both a constant and a keyed. This is going to be on our keyed power to trip the rest of the system that way.
Yep. I have two more connections here. There's one labeled SW power out. Well, I shouldn't say typically. We will not be using this connection unless we're connecting to an ag leader receiver, guys. We'll talk about that a little more once we actually show some of our GPS connections later on. But we utilize this connection here to send power out to the receiver if we're using an ag leader receiver. Then last but not least is our connection that would then plug into the power inverter on the dock. I will note that it is fused. So we do have a 10 amp fuse in there. Just know that it is fused, and it then plugs into the load port on the power inverter on the back of the dock. Then last but not least, since I have it here already hooked in, we also have a long Ethernet harness. We will talk about this a little more as well when we move to the rear of the machine. But this is going to be the connector point between the Ethernet connection on the back of the dock and our connection to the actual planer itself. Is there anything I've missed, Phil, that you can think of?
No, that's going to get us in the cab. I think that we can do the GPS components after we get the cab kit put in.
Yeah, works for me.
So yeah, that's not the entire kit yet, guys, but I think that's easiest to say what we're going to do to make sure that everything's mounted in the cab.
Yep.
I think at this point in time, let's quick look. Kurt, you're kind of watching there. I'm trying to watch the screen a little bit too. So any questions at this stage of the game about where to find the information when it comes to doing an install for a Blue Vantage display or possibly any of the cabling so far?
Do you have a question?
Okay.
Dusty, do I need to worry about taking the test from yesterday? We watched the Q&A. I probably could have just let that go. No, Dusty, we'll worry about today's test after we're done, and we will be posting that for you. No problem.
Yeah, and that's fine. Valid question. Quite honestly, guys, the quizzes that we're doing are just for attendance. We know that in many cases, there may be more than one of you sitting in a conference room or in front of a laptop going through this. Number one, thank you. We appreciate you being with us today or any of the past days. And if you missed a quiz, it doesn't matter. One is all that's required to show that you've attended one of the sessions. It's not mandatory that more than one get recorded. So if you're concerned about it, we can certainly send them to you. Just pop us a note on Dealer Connect and we'll send those out to you. But otherwise, if you're with us today, grab the link at the end today and that'll be just fine, Dusty. So, all right. I think at this point in time, guys, let's go look at the tractor and the cabling that we went through so far in the kit. let's see where it's at and how it's located. And for that, we've got an 8R series tractor here. And we're going to go clear around and we're going to start over here at the battery connection. So, guys, Brandon's got the hood open and the battery box cover off, but on these 8R series tractors, I think everybody can see we're right up here in front of the cab. And our harness has been routed up underneath the cab. And here's where you really got to, I guess, get creative sometimes, because number one, you're going to look at different tractors with different battery box locations and try to find that best routing that we can secure it and keep it from getting damaged. But then you're also going to have the challenge of trying to get this thing underneath the cab. So oftentimes this can be one of the most challenging parts of a Blue Vantage install, and that's getting this power setup in place. So in this case, we've got a common ground coming off of a frame stud here where you can see many other grounds have been put in place. The primary battery is coming out here. They've got it attached through our fuse, as Brandon mentioned. So we've got fused protection for that power out. And then the other one going into our positive terminal to the battery. So once again, working at how you get this thing underneath here and back through the rear of the tractor is really the challenge. So cat tractors, batteries clear up front, different models, sizes, etc. That's truly going to be where we're at with the challenge. So we follow that cable all the way back to the back of the tractor, you guys. And in this particular case, have done a real nice job. This tractor we borrowed from our dealership out back, Blue Equipment. So thanks to those guys for loaning us the tractor today. But they've actually got that plug-in right up and actually permanently fixed. The cable's not just hanging out there, okay, which is great. Security, stability of the connection point. What it doesn't do is make it easy to show you that cab relay. All right. So they haven't actually on this one mounted it. It's just laying along the harness the way you see it, the way Brandon had it in his hand. And as long as that's tucked up underneath the cab and protected from the elements, you know what, that's okay. But if they've got that cable out here at the back and that relay is exposed, those relays can take moisture. They're resistant, but they're not waterproof. So hanging it from that tab or mounting it so that we've got a fixed position for it and keeping it oriented correctly is all that we need, and it will help with long-term reliability, leaving that harness on that tractor for year in, year out. Okay. Now, we'll look a little bit more closely at it as well, but from here, how do we get to the planter? Guys, you've got an extension harness, and these extension harnesses are that interface. That's what's going to get us from the tractor back to the planter, okay? One thing that we can note at this stage of the game too is that these extensions have different lengths, all right? Not only depending on how you want to route your cable and secure that plug in, but what kind of a tractor we've got. And behind us, with the 5700, we've got a four-wheel drive on this planter over here. And when we start working with articulated four-wheel drives, guys, we start needing different lengths of extension harnesses. So you can see that getting back to this point, we may need other lengths, both for the Ethernet as well as for the main power. So look in the operator's manuals, guys. You're going to find, it didn't come in the kit, there's just a standard length in that kit. But if you go into your operator's manual for the 5700, you're going to find in the parts segment that those extensions have different lengths. I can get a longer one if I need to for that type of an application. So recognize that it's going to be available through repair parts. Those longer ones are not in the kit. The kits are all a standard because the vast majority are going on the front wheel assist tractors. Okay. All right. That's our main power harness. We're going to go in the cab now, guys, and see if I can get through the cable here. All right. So cab kit, guys. We've already got a docking station mounted in here. So it's easy for me to find the cable. And I'm just going to peel it up so we can look at all the parts that Brandon showed us here. Okay. So in this case, this is our going down and goes to our convenience outlet. It's out of frame, I realize, but this is my power from the convenience outlet, my key switch power. First thing I come to is that power out that we're not using, because in this tractor we would be hooked through to our Green Star, so we're not powering an independent receiver. It's a part of the tractor. Or we follow along, and I've got my drop that comes up. So here's my 10 amp fuse and going up to my power inverter on the docking station. Okay. And guys, I will mention here too, if we go back far enough with the older Blue Vantage systems, this was a 5 and not quite enough. It was intermittent. We would pop this fuse. There was a service bulletin several years ago. But for those of you that have any of the older originals, if you still find a 5 amp fuse in this inverter location, go ahead and put the 10 amp in it. All right. Keep following along, and we're going to end up with our power out to, or the power from the relay, power relay. It's labeled, and then this is coming off of that primary that we just put underneath the cab. It comes back in. So effectively, guys, what this is going to do is make sure that when we turn everything on, hit key power, which I just did for cab power, I'm going out, I'm powering the relay so I can power out to the planter. So anytime the tractor is off, the planter is off, type of thing. It's also then going to power our inverter. You can see the light up here, and make sure that we have power up to the inverter. It'll kick the display on with the key. And when we turn the key off, it'll time the display out and turn it down. I'll turn it off as well, so you don't have to manually turn on or off the display. If you ever jump in the guy's cab and the display doesn't come on, you have to power it on with the button. Start looking at this interface right here. Make sure that we're getting keyed power to it. All right. All right. Kill this so we don't run anything down. We'll mention this for the upcoming conversation on GPS. Coming out of the dock, I have my 9-pin serial and I have my Ethernet connection. So these two are also going to be connected here soon. The Ethernet would go right back out the back window through an extension to get to the planter connection. And this is going to ultimately end up connecting us to the GPS receiver. Okay. And of course, we don't have the Blue Vantage in the docking station today. This is be good for the install, but you can see that this is going to snap our display right into place. All right. Any questions inside the cab, guys? And then dressing your wires, however is best for that customer. We're going to leave these lay loose again for now, but getting them tucked back out of harm's way for movement of the seat and all those types of things, still an important part of the cab kit install. All right. We'll jump back out and take a look at GPS requirements. And one of the things as we start talking about GPS requirements, number one, the connectivity component. I think it's best to start with the recognition that the Blue Vantage display requires, I'm going to use the term raw signal, meaning we have to be connected directly to the GPS receiver. It's very important, and the reason for that, guys, is we need uncorrected, no delays. We need the raw signal coming straight from the receiver. That is what the Blue Vantage requires to make all its calculations for all the planner controls. So shut-off performance, how the mapping looks, all of these things are key components of that communication from the receiver, not coming through a nav controller output or the backside of another display. Those are all activities that will delay or filter or change that signal. We can't have that. So all the connections that Brandon's going to talk about here are going to be direct to the receiver and then into the Blue Vantage. The other thing that I would tell you, I'm just going to grab my notes here, but we kept saying that we're going to keep referencing IS 1021. I printed off the page just so that I could quote it correctly, but guys, there is within IS 1021, call it a spec sheet, call it a minimum requirements page, but regardless of the GPS that you connect to, so whether it's a factory receiver on a green tractor or a red tractor or blue tractor, or whether you're using a standalone receiver that you may have purchased from Kinsey, the Blue Vantage is just receiving information. It does not command or control any of the settings or the outputs. All right. So when we talk about having the different communication messaging, the RMC, the GGA, VTG, RMC, all of those components for the different parts of the signal that are required, baud rates of 115, 200, those types of things, all of those minimums are listed, right? So we need to make sure that those outputs are set correctly so that the Blue Vantage can operate up to its performance levels. Those settings have to happen through those proprietary displays. So if I'm going to turn the settings on in this receiver, I have to go into my John Deere display, the 2630, 4000 series display, and go in to change those settings so that I get the appropriate output for Blue Vantage. I have to go into my case proprietary display, Pro 700, whatever it might be, and change those output settings to make sure that I've got channel A, channel B, baud rates, etc. And the same goes with Ag Leader. I kind of push the Ag Leader one a little harder than maybe I need to, but the disappointing part is you bought this from Kinsey. It came in the box with the rest of your Blue Vantage stuff, and you can't just plug it together. I still have to connect this to an Ag Leader display to set the output messaging and speeds correctly before the Blue Vantage will receive it. Okay, so as we're doing setups on these and get closer to it, don't wait till it's that time to plant. Make sure that we're getting these outputs and the setups and the GPS side of this hooked up early on. Check for repeatability, all of the speed and everything else. Yep. So did I miss anything there, Brandon?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then let's take a look at the actual connections and what we need to make sure that we're inputting into the docking station and that standard 9-pin serial correctly.
Yep, absolutely. So I'll start here with the Ag Leader 7500, guys. It's kind of first in line here. Specific for the 7500, when you guys are unboxing these, you will note there is a Ag Leader Y cable, I believe is how we label it here. A couple important things to know here, guys. I'll start on this right-hand side. You'll see a red and black 2-pin Deutsch connector. This is that connector I was talking about earlier that plugs into the SW out port on our harness here, on our console harness. So I would simply plug that in there. Then I'm left with 2 9-pin serial ports. When you're connecting these to the dual port cable that may come with the 7500, it's important to note the connection with the black and red wires has to go towards the 7500. All right. We don't have a power source coming from the tractor like we do on our Starfire or CNH receivers to supply power to our GPS receiver itself. So that's how we're getting power to power up this 7500 is through this connection here. Right. Then with our other 9-pin serial, this is what we would connect to the other shield connector off the back of the dock. That way we can get our GPS connection from the receiver into the dock. Right. It's important to note you may need a gender bender or no modem cable depending on which application you're using here. And I would be remiss if I didn't show these here. I didn't take them out of the package, guys, but we do have a bunch of no modem cable or no modem adapter, excuse me, no modems and our gender benders in here as well. So these are also included within the kit. Like Phil said, I really want to drive it home because we do get a lot of questions on this in the spring. This has to be set up with an ag leader receiver. I know it kind of gets people in the pinch. They got to run to the neighbors to utilize one of their ag leader displays to configure it. But just plan ahead, guys. It doesn't matter what display you're using. It could be an Integra, it could be InCommand, it could be the new InCommand Go. All of those are going to be able to access the settings within the 7500. So just keep that in mind, guys, as you guys are going to install these for the customer. Going to move on to our CNH and John Deere displays, or receivers, excuse me. I have this harness here. This is what we call our Starfire T harness. Pretty self-explanatory. We have a T harness so we can tie into the receiver, as well as letting that signal pass through to the tractor as well. So that way we still have GPS input, whether we're using steering or whatnot on the machine. We're just kind of splicing that signal out of the receiver.
And that is used regardless of application.
That is correct.
That's the length of cable that he's got in his hands, guys, is the one that's going to get you off the roof and down in the back of the cab.
Yep.
So that's used in every single application, even though it's labeled
Correct.
as a Starfire cable.
That's exactly right. Yeah, just because it's labeled Starfire T harness, we don't have a CNH T harness anywhere in this kit. It's this cable, and then we use a series of adapters to get to whatever we're needing here. So in this case, I'll show you this adapter here. I do have a 372 sitting here in front of me, guys. Might be hard to see, Zach, but on this cable here, these are all labeled. This connection here is labeled receiver. It's a 12-pin Deutsch. This is what we plug into port B of our receiver. So on the back side of 372, there's a port A and a port B. I don't know how well that'll pick up, Zach. We're always going to plug into port B. You'll notice as we're going through the instructions in IS 1021, we are configuring port B within the RDI setup. So this will plug into port B. Other 12-pin Deutsch connector over here is labeled tractor. So that way we can unplug the connection that runs the tractor as well, plug it into here. Like I mentioned, we're still getting that GPS signal to not only the Blue Vantage, but also our OEM machine steering systems if needed. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug this in to port B. Like I mentioned, this would be going to the tractor, so that way it can still access it. But then, like Phil mentioned, we're still going to utilize the Starfire T harness here, and we're going to simply plug that in to our connection here. We have a cap on this end. I took it out for this purpose. We'd leave this end capped, and then our 9-pin serial would run down the roof into the cab and plug into the back of the dock, like we saw earlier with the ag leader harness. Right? While we're talking CNH connectors, guys, I have a couple more here in front of me. We did have to create a new adapter here for the Vector Pro. So this will go between the actual receiver itself and our harness here. But because of some pin changes on the Vector Pro compared to the 372 in the past, we do have this connector here. It is now included within the kit. So that's why we always say reference the newest version of IS 1021, because this is a fairly new cable and is not in the older versions. So this is what we use for the Vector Pro. And then when we start talking 392 with Trimble, and we do have a Trimble adapter here, it is important to note, like Phil said, not all the cables are included within the kit. So if you reference IS 1021 and were to go to the 392 section, you will see there are some different cables required to make the system work, whether we're using regular WAS or RTK, just due to some changes on the backside here of the 392. And last but not least, guys, our Starfire receiver. I'm going to call this probably the easiest one to set up because this is where the Starfire T harness really shines. We don't need any adapter cables, guys. We're just simply coming up and plugging into the harness or into the bottom of the cab. And then simple as that. Again, we're then using a gender bender into our 9-pin serial port on the back. You guys will notice here, I have the main three of what I'm going to call them, our ag leader, our CNH, and our John Deere. But if you guys are starting to expand the market, your customers are getting the Fendt, the Challengers, and whatnot of machines, feel free to ask us, guys. Send us an email. We do have, or we can provide the 9-pin port out of the back of the dock, and what each of the pins is for, and then you just have to make the harness on your guys' end to connect to those receivers. So it's not that we can only use these 3 displays. We're trying to be, colorblind, is what we always like to say around here. So just ask, guys. Don't hesitate. We can provide you with that and get you heading in the right direction to connect to those other receivers.
So one of the questions gets asked is, we started the conversation earlier by saying that this total topic, as far as installation, the GPS requirements, minimums, those types of things are one of our top topics of conversation quite frequently. How do we know if we don't have it right? Okay, is if we think that everything's followed through, or the customer says, I plugged it in the same way that it was last year, right? Some of the tattletale signs are going to be what the display tells us, meaning I'm driving around and I stop and back up into the corner of my field and I start getting the super twisty motion model again. Now, 10 years ago, that was kind of part of the operating system. We saw that happen with some of the older systems. Those types of things have been corrected. And if we start to see those happen again, we start looking at the look-aheads or the shutoffs being inconsistent, or having to make serious adjustments for that look-ahead timing. Those are all indications that our GPS signal is not where it needs to be to get the accuracy out of this machine and the control system that we have. So there are some things like that really go back and make us look and say, hey, do we have the right settings and the outputs? Do we have it connected correctly? But as Brandon mentioned, there's always something else out there. I want to hook it into a different signal provider than what's been tested, because here again, on our page of requirements, we also have a list of what is the approved receivers. So Kinsey's going to only have so many of the major brands that we're going to actually do our performance testing with. Are there others out there? Absolutely. And that's where Brandon went with the fact that we may not have the right cabling that's going to get you from a different receiver, or even a tractor that's less popular yet, like maybe a Fendt. But we can tell you what the minimums are. We know the output has to be the same, and we can tell you where the pin out for this 9-pin, and you can make your own cable locally.
Yep.
And an Ag Express Electronics, or there are several others that are happy to build you those interface cables to get you out of the back of your receiver and into the 9-pin configuration. So let us know. We won't have any data to back up the planter performance. We're going to continue to suggest at that point that you do some pretty serious field checks and performance checks of your own, or the customer do that. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that it won't work.
Right.
It just means that we don't have the test data to support it. We've done it with the primaries here and those that are supported on our list. So, all right.
Alrighty.
We kind of had this time again as a kind of a natural break, if you will, between pieces of the puzzle today. Are there any questions in there, Kurt? Okay. Question. Adam, thanks for being with us today. Number one, if we were ordering a receiver from Kinsey, why not just have them ready to plug in from the factory? That's a question that we've asked. Logical question. Because the 7500 is a box item from Ag Leader that doesn't even get opened up, and in some cases, we know it's compatible, but it's coming from different sources. The standard setting coming from Ag Leader does not include those outputs. So it's considered a secondary function from Ag Leader. We would have to unbox, reprogram, rebox just here on site, and it doesn't always work that way. We're getting them direct from Ag Leader. Sometimes they're shipping direct, and sometimes you guys as Ag Leader dealers, we know a number of you are grabbing your own inventory off the shelf. So yes, we've considered it, and there may still be some internal changes if they're ordered from here, but I still think it's wise to make sure that any receiver we use has to have the minimum setups based on the requirements we print. and it takes a proprietary display to that receiver to change those settings. I think it's just easiest to recognize that the Blue Vantage does not have the capability of changing output settings for any receiver at this time. Okay, good question. All right. All right, I don't see anything else right now. So I'm checking my list here. Oh, the other thing that we failed to mention, guys, the GPS harness bundle that Brandon was just going over, all of the primary John Deere T harness, as we call it, and all of the other pieces used to be only available as a singular kit, and there was 6, 7 different cables in there, but it was one part number. Really wasn't an issue setting up a new one because they were always all there and usually something left unused. But especially as we see more of them on trade or guys switching tractors around, more than one tractor, they want to leave cables on them, etc. I just want 1 or 2 pieces of this puzzle to make the configuration work. Guys, all of those harnesses now have individual part numbers and are available individually through our repair parts system. So no need to try to find another resource or to build your own. We can provide them for you through repair parts. All right, hit extension harnesses, cables.
Say we're ready to jump to the Blue Vantage.
Name of strings, hertz rates. I'm just double checking.
I know. I'm not trying to push you here, Phil.
Yeah, I think so too. Guys, here again, logically in the sequence, we got power into the cab. We got the cab wired. We've now got GPS connected correctly, output settings for the receiver set correctly. We've got it plugged into the Blue Vantage and everything looks good. What's left as far as a GPS setup to make this thing operate in the field? We're still going to have to go into the Blue Vantage and do those GPS measurements, ultimately linking that position of the receiver to the placement of the seat at the back of the machine. So, all right, with that, we got connection. So yeah, we can go ahead and switch over to Blue Vantage. And I can drive here, Brandon, but you can walk us through the steps.
Yeah, but before we jump into that, Phil, we do have a question here. I'll hit it before we totally divert topics. It says, have you changed the cable to have more pins in for the John Deere integrated system because it was short 2 wires for GPS to work? I'm assuming Brad is referencing the pass-through cables for the RTK signal, if I had to guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. I don't know for certain if we have made that change yet, but I know there is a push to make that change. I'd have to do some looking, Brad, to confirm, but my gut tells me not yet, but I think there is a push to get those 2 pins added.
Yeah, and that's, I believe, as well, and don't have the engineering change detail in front of me, guys, but the answer is yes, that's in process. I think as an interim or a bridge plan, it's another one of those things that we learn as the product changes, but has been added to IS 1021. So there again, may not be the best fix yet, but as a bridge plan, we've noted the information, recognize that for those specific configurations, we would have to add those pins to the existing cable that you get until those get added and through engineering change and actually get into a production environment. But at this point in time, it's still just a noted requirement, but not something that's been put into the cable yet. So good question.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think we should be good to flip over to the Blue Vantage now. Kurt, I'm gonna have you drive. I'll just speak to it. Like Phil mentioned, well, we do have to enter some GPS offsets here. So once we get it up on the roof, and we got to tell the Blue Vantage where it's at. That way we can know where in relationship the actual drop point of the seat is in relation to our axle and our GPS receiver. So to begin with, guys, power up the Blue Vantage. We're going to click on the settings icon on the right, and then we're going to click on tractor. I'm going to begin with tractor here on the left. This is where we come to do 2 things. One, like Phil mentioned, we have to have that baud rate at the 115,200. So if that drop down is set to something different, or If you're utilizing a different system like the ag leader display and it defaults to a value higher than that, that number there has to match whatever the input to the Blue Vantage is. Otherwise, we'll get some concerns and issues. But we like the 115,200 number there. Then from there, guys, we're going to enter a couple more things. Location of the GPS antenna as far as left, right, center. But we're also going to enter tractor type. This is important because that will change some measurements for reference points, as well as how the motion model looks on the display itself. So we go ahead and click on articulated for me, Kurt. That's where we usually have to have a little more here. So a couple things to note if you guys are using articulated machines. If we don't have these points measured correctly, a couple different things you'll notice. One, planar shutoff is going to be either too early or too late. The motion model almost looks locked sometimes in a rigid mode. But it's important that we get these measurements entered correctly, guys, because like I mentioned, this is what drives our shutoffs and our turn-ons. So
I think we'd better first. There we go.
That's the most important feature in the displays. We always like to joke is what color.
Match what we're working.
I say what color hot rod's on the front of the planter. So as we go through, like I said, 2-track machines and traditional, kind of the same, guys. These measurements are critical. If we don't have these measurements right, planter performance is going to be off, regardless of what we turn our on and offs to. So I'm going to have you click on planter now in the top left corner, if you would. So from here, guys, once we have all of our stuff connected per IS 1021, we have the correct GPS inputs into our Blue Vantage display. We've measured our offsets in relative to the rear axle, left, right, center of the cab, and whatnot, as well as our axle to hitch pin. We're going to then come to this screen here, and this is where we will start adjusting our turn on and turn offs. I'm always going to recommend starting at 0.
I was going to say, if necessary, guys.
Yep.
I think some of you that have been through this before also recognize that the Blue Vantage hooked up correctly is pretty doggone close right out of the box. Now, it doesn't, I'm not negating any type of checking here, guys. There's nothing to otherwise. Planter performance has to be judged by ourselves by digging in the dirt.
Absolutely.
Can't emphasize that enough. But effectively, usually when we get to these adjustments for the planters, guys, that's one of our tattletales again, as I used the term before. If we see the planting start and planting stop get very far beyond a foot, 18 inches, and usually that's preference because they want a little bit of overlap or want a little bit extra gap, but for visibility. But if we get outside of that range, it's usually a key indicator that something on the input side isn't right.
Yep.
Okay.
They're going to tell you to unplug it from the nav controller.
Yep.
Yeah, good point though, Phil. Good point. So this is where we'll come here, guys. Yeah, once we have all those criteria met from IS 1021 and we get this adjusted to the customer's preferences, like Phil said, we should be pretty spot on. The Blue Vantage is capable of doing all the background calculations to determine when to turn it on and off from there. So, is there any other things we want to mention here?
I do think that we want to talk about the implement guidance.
Certainly.
We're seeing more and more guys that are utilizing implement guidance or implement tracking. There's several different names depending on who's you're using, but effectively, guys, we're putting the GPS receiver on the planter to be more accurate with placement around contours and slopes. So can we do that with Blue Vantage? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have had a couple guys doing it. It does get a little interesting in terms of offsets, because I believe the planter or the offsets we enter into the Blue Vantage are going to be based off of the receiver on the planter. That's at least my understanding of it currently. But as we go forward, guys, if you ever have questions, like Phil said, send it to Dealer Connect. We can always test it or ask the right questions to the right people to determine we're getting you the right answer. But I believe we do enter the offsets from the receiver on the back of the planter here, because we have had some concerns with like 10 feet off as far as our turn off and turn on times. And it was related to utilizing the receiver on board with the planter and the offsets being based off the one on the cab. So just keep that in mind, guys. If you guys are struggling to get those on and off times spot on and we're 10, 15 feet off, just note that it's probably based off of the receiver on the planter, not the cab. So,
yep, absolutely. As Brandon said, let us know how we can help. DealerConnect@kinsey.com is certainly the place that you're going to throw that information at us. And just because it's not yet identified within IS 1021, or in this case, we're still looking at that tractor settings, we don't have a button on here for the implement guidance style of things. So, and that's okay. Just recognize that we can still help you through that, even though it's not directly identified. So let us know how we can help with some of those customized applications. All right. We are kind of winding through the information that we had. I keep referencing my sheet to make sure we hit all the critical to function stuff here, guys. But to recap, our whole idea today was to try and head off some of the phone calls we get, especially at planting time, that could have been avoided. And that has to do a lot with connectivity, GPS wise, and in some cases, even the general cab kit install. We've seen some concerns with battery connections and other things as well cause trouble over time. So starting at the battery connection, always make sure that we're utilizing the fuse protection up front and that we're hooked correctly by the cable label to the positive and negative terminals. Fishing it through the back of the tractor, yes, it's a challenge, but pick your route carefully, secure the harness in areas that it's not going to incur any damage or wear or rub spots. Watch that cab relay. Once again, if it's up underneath, you got it tucked in tight, no big deal on orientation, but if it's hanging out the back, make sure that we mount it to keep the wiring down. Long term, it's going to save you worrying about voltage and any corrosion and those types of things within that relay. That relay didn't have a Kinsey part number for a while, and I guess that's another thing I should throw at you, is there are Kinsey part numbers for it. It is a very standard part that's available. You probably have them on the dealer shelf, as well as being able to stop by a normal auto parts store. Just grab the numbers off of it to get the right amperage rating. Those have upped in amperage over years, so just make sure you're replacing like for like. Once we get our power out the bat, that extension cable back to get us to the planter, depending on whether we're working with that articulated four-wheel drive or a standard wheeled tractor, just know that those extension harnesses are available through repair parts at different lengths. Can help with those installations as well. Guys, and then the GPS inputs, we can't stress that enough. Brandon makes it sound pretty simple, but in the heat of the battle, when things you want to try to get things going and you can't get signal to it, or we can't get the performance level we're looking for, get IS 1021 back out. We use it all the time, reference it all the time. It's a great document to have with you to just say, hey, did I meet all my minimums? It's our black and white. Do I have to have these things critical to function to make the planter perform at the expectation of the customer? And last but not least, let us know how we can help. When you're struggling with a new install, can't get signal through, you mentioned the John Deere pass-throughs took us some time to figure out, but once we did, we wanted to make sure the information's out there for others to share. DealerConnect@kinsey.com is the best place to get a hold of us. You can still get a hold of us on the phone as we're available from a resource standpoint, but quite honestly, guys, Dealer Connect is quickest and easiest. So, all right, Brandon is going to put the link for the attendance quiz in the chat function, so you can grab it there if you've not seen or been able to access the Q&A directly. It will go in the Q&A as well, so you can see it there. And if for some reason anybody's having difficulty finding it or getting it to work correctly, just reach out, send us a quick note at Dealer Connect, and we can forward you that link directly. All right. Looking for any other questions. I'm not seeing any. Is there anything else coming up, guys?
Not seeing it either.
Okay. Well, guys, we're right at 55 minutes, so pretty close to what we hoped for. This is the third one this week. It's getting a little easier, maybe, kind of. We exercised Zach with his camera moves and some other things today, so that was kind of fun. Like we said, it seemed like, I hope it looked well on the screen. But guys, these and others are still being not only recorded and captured, but will be out there on the Kinsey YouTube channel. So you can reference it again. You can share it with others. If somebody was unable to sit through the webinar today, please share it with them. Let them know where to find that. So we started the week with, well, yesterday was PTO pump mount, and then we started the week with another Blue Vantage segment, a bit more on the software and what's to come for 26. So look for those on Kinsey's YouTube channel. So thank you again for joining, guys. Have a great Labor Day weekend. I wish it was Memorial Day.
Okay.
Labor Day weekend, and let us know how we can help. Thank you.
Thank you.